Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Happy weekend. So today I wanted to take some time and talk about Only Theater of Pain. Over the years there's been a lot of confusion about how one can identify an original copy of Only Theater of Pain. That would be the first pressing that came out in 1982. What other pressings should a collector like myself want to have? And which ones are legit, which ones are bogus, bootlegs, and are there any out there that exceed in quality more than the others? So let's spend some time talking about that, and hopefully this will be helpful to anyone out there looking to pick up a copy of Only Theater of Pain or add to their collection. Okay, so an original copy of Only Theater of Pain, the very first pressing. What are you looking for? So first I want to start with what you should be doing as a buyer, a potential buyer, if you're in a store or if you're buying on eBay or Discogs or online or from another seller. Photos are what you really want to see. Photos are going to be your indicators. Very, very often on eBay that I've seen listings for original copies, first pressings of Only Theater of Pain, that when you look at the listing, it's clearly not that. Which is the reason for this video. I really wanted to have a cautionary message out there for any potential buyers, collectors. The listings often will have glaringly obvious stock photos or just pictures of a different release of this album that are not first pressing. So, as a buyer, what do you want to look for? Regardless if you're buying online or in a store, you have two things you really want to look at for this album. We're going to start with the jacket. Now keep in mind that just because the jacket's original doesn't mean the vinyl's original. Maybe somebody had a very nice quality jacket that they kept in good shape, but the vinyl is in bad shape. Often, not often, sometimes an unscrupulous seller will pull a vinyl from a later pressing and slide it into an original jacket. And I'm going to show you how you can tell to avoid that. So let's start with the jacket. We're looking for a black and gold cover. That is a first pressing, black and gold ink. The black is semi-gloss, almost a matte. It's not overly shiny, but the gold ink is very glossy. And the gold coloring is important. Many later pressings of this record, this gold starts to change color. It becomes very yellow or very orange. For some reason, the coloring just doesn't come out right. This one is truly gold, like gold chain gold. So that is what you're looking for, this nice gold coloring. And this is the back cover. And right here is where you're going to be able to tell if at least the jacket is an original pressing of Only Theater of Pain. And what you're looking for is down here at the bottom. And what's missing is a UPC or a barcode. And original copies of Only Theater of Pain, that was on the shrink wrap, not printed on the jacket. If you have a pressing of Only Theater of Pain that you're looking at and there's a UPC code printed on the jacket, it is not an original copy. So that's your first tell. And the catalog number, which will be no help to you as you'll see later in the video, is FLP 1007. Copyright 1982. That will be completely unhelpful to you and helping identify an original copy. And you'll see why later. The record itself comes in a plain white sleeve. It'll probably be yellowed. Again, this record is almost 36 years old, so you should expect some yellowing somewhere unless it's been really stored in a beautiful condition. And the vinyl itself, this is how you're going to be able to tell if what you have is an original vinyl that matches an original jacket. So we're going to look at the center label. And this center label right here on all later versions of this record changes. This is the only version that has a matte black label. All other versions, this becomes glossy, a glossy black. And if you notice the print, it's a really muted gold. It's almost gray. And on later pressings, this becomes darker. Not significantly darker. The tell really for you in determining if your vinyl is an original is this center label. It should be kind of matte black, not glossy black. And then here in the dead wax also should be written "Hello Kitty Kitty Kitty" with an exclamation mark. Now you'll see later in the video that most pressings of this album will have that. So that cannot be an indicator for you whether or not you have an original vinyl. The only tell you'll have is this center label should be on matte black. What else is in there? You should also have a lyric sheet. And it's very thin. Thin white, like photocopy paper. As you can see, it's pretty transparent because it's so thin. And the print quality, the photo quality is like Xerox quality print. It's not bold, or it is bold, but it's not on glossy stock paper. It's not on any kind of fancy paper. Very thin, just photocopy paper. And this often will be yellowed as well with age. Sometimes there's some staining, but this is what you're looking for, a thin white sheet. And I have seen copies where this has been replaced with later versions. And it's pretty obvious, which as you'll see later in the video. So, an original copy of Only Theater of Pain. You have the jacket with no UPC barcode, black and gold print. You have a plain white paper sleeve for the vinyl. You have the lyric sheet on thin white paper, like photocopy paper. And then the vinyl itself, the center label should be matte black with a very muted gold, almost gray print to it. And I just want to add a note here. There have been some stories in the past few years that have emerged about early copies, early pressings of Only Theater of Pain being sprayed with a rotting corpse or freshly dug earth smell. I honestly don't believe that's true. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. I get it why somebody would think that Rozz or Christian Death would do something like that. But given the budgetary concerns of the label, the band, and just the packaging itself, it's not over the top. It's not super fancy. I just can't imagine anyone doing that. And even if that's true, this record is 35, almost 36 years old. That scent has probably long evaporated. And if anyone has ever, and to this day, opened a pristine copy, like an original pressing that was shrink wrapped, and that scent is in there, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to know the truth to that. Personally, I think it's bogus. But anyway, so those are your tells, your two tells. No UPC code and the matte black label. And it's very important that if you want an original copy of Only Theater of Pain, you're looking for those two things to ensure that you have, in fact, purchased or are about to purchase an original copy. So let's move on to the next release, which many people also believe is the first pressing of Only Theater of Pain. Okay, so our next copy of Only Theater of Pain actually comes from France. And many people have probably seen this copy. It's a beautifully painted cover. I always forget the artist, but it's a famous painting. And you'll notice one quick difference. The spelling of theater is different than an original copy, or all other copies. Any copy with this cover, it's R-E, and this is E-R, which is ironic because, in America, this is typically how we spell theater. And that's more of a European spelling, so it's ironic that the European pressing of this album has a more Americanized spelling of theater. So, this was actually released on a label in the UK called Limitation O Suicide, and it is their first press, or their first release, Suicide d'Affaire #1. This was released in Europe in 1983, and it was done so to help fund the tour that Christian Death embarked on in late 1983 into 1984 of the UK and Europe, or Western Europe, I should say. And for a long time, this probably was the most sought after version of Only Theater of Pain, only because it is strikingly different. It has this incredible photo of Rozz from Ed Culver on the back, and it's just a really beautiful pressing. The cover is glossy, and it's just really, it's kind of simple, but it's got this beautiful artwork and these beautiful photos. So a lot of people believe this is an original pressing, the very first pressing of Only Theater of Pain. It's actually the second, but it's the first European pressing. So, however you want to look at it, it's all semantics to me. But it's definitely, if you're a collector of Christian Death, a fan of Rozz, this is very nice. It looks beautiful in a frame, album frame. Your friends, any Rozz fan, will be envious that you have a copy of this. And they're not that scarce. They do crop up, but I will have a word of warning that will come later about this particular release. So what should be in this one? Again, plain white jacket. And it has a very lovely center label, which is themed to the next piece that we will look at. This is like a just standard 120 gram, like the very original copy, lightweight vinyl. I have seen many of these warped, which I don't know if that's a characteristic of this label, because a lot of the versions of albums I have from this label have a slight warp to them, and I don't know if that's just age or if they were coming off the presses that way. Anyway, so another feature of this release is this beautiful, like almost LP sized booklet. It contains poems in French, and some beautiful illustrations. So, and then it has all the lyrics, this nice like song list, credits down at the bottom, and then it has, again, some photographs that are not in the American version, which makes this very desirable for fans, just to have those extra photographs that they've probably seen online, but they don't have whatever tangible copy those photos were released on. So this is the French pressing of Only Theater of Pain, and this came out again in 1983. So that was it for at least a few years. We had those two versions of Only Theater of Pain. Now we're going to jump into the crazy. So buckle up. Hang on. Okay, so before I go any further, yes, I am wearing this shirt backwards. I figured I'd want to theme this video with the appropriate shirt. So the other side is just a picture of Rozz. Everyone has seen. So anyway, so Rozz leaves Christian Death in 1985 to pursue his own interests. And the rails kind of go off in a lot of directions with the Christian Death discography at that point. I honestly, I don't know the legality of any of it. So who owned the rights to what? I can tell you to this day, or today, that Frontier Records holds an exclusive license to release material from Only Theater of Pain. And they have licensed it out. So a few years ago, they did a licensing with Burger Records for some limited cassettes with 4 different covers of Only Theater of Pain. They, in the mid-'80s, I think, were struggling, and they provided distribution through BMG, and I believe also at one point distribution or exclusive rights were given to Epitaph. So we will touch on those in a second. Where to start with this? Frontier Records went quiet. Rozz had left the band. And I think about 86, 87, we started seeing other copies of Only Theater of Pain emerge into the market. And I'm not even going to try to do this in order by release year. I'm just going to kind of quickly touch on all of them. For fans that are completists, want everything out there. I don't have everything out there. To be honest, Only Theater of Pain has more versions of a record than I think probably any other artist out there. And the fact that they're all a little different. They're not just cut and paste, same copy, different call number or catalog number. And, you know, it's from a different country. It's got something different about it. So let's get into those. And I'm going to start with the one that a lot of people probably find on eBay listed as an original copy. And this was one of the earliest American represses that I'm aware of. And it was licensed through BMG Music. And anyone not familiar with BMG, they were a subsidiary of RCA. And much like Columbia House Records and Tapes, the order subscription service where you get 10 CDs or 10 records or 8 records, whatever, for a penny, BMG offered a very similar service. Whether or not this was ever part of that service, I don't know. I don't ever recall seeing this listed in any of those magazine ads for, you know, 8 albums for a penny. But regardless, it is on BMG. And let me see if I can find that. It's very small. Right down here at the bottom of the back cover. This is a black and white cover. Very generic cover. You'll also notice it has a UPC code, which is new for the releases. The originals, I'll pull that out again. No UPC. So again, if you're looking at a copy of Only Theater of Pain and it has a UPC, it is not an original pressing. So add that to your checklist. So black and white cover, 120 gram vinyl. It is in a plain white sleeve, and we do have, again, the center hole, or the center label. This one is glossy, as you can see in the reflection, and the lettering is a little bit brighter. I have seen copies of this record inserted into an original jacket. So again, that's why I want to stress the importance of this center label, because if somebody had a beat to death vinyl from an original copy, but their jacket still looked decent, An unscrupulous seller could pick up one of these pretty cheap and throw this in there, and you would really have no way of knowing unless you were very careful at looking at this label what you have. And I just want to confirm really quick. I'm going to look at the dead wax and the Hello Kitty. I'm sorry, it's Hello Kitty Kitty Kitty, not Hello Kitty Cat. Hello Kitty 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 is in the dead wax, and I'm gonna assume that is because it's on the master plate, and all copies of this record are getting pressed from that master plate, and that's why almost every version of this Only Theater of Pain has that in the dead wax. There are copies of this that have an insert. Mine does not. It looks exactly similar to the original, which I showed you. And often you find these, they are corner cut. These did go into a discount rack pretty quickly after they were released by BMG. They may have even just been released by BMG as a discount vinyl in their catalog. I'm not sure. I know there are versions that aren't corner cut if you bought it early. Often when you see them on eBay, their corner is cut. And obviously that diminishes the value of anything. Not that this version has a lot of value at all. Sound quality is same as the original. And again, you want to make sure it has the insert if you are interested in buying this copy. If not, I think this one is passable or forgivable. Now, there is a version of this that I don't have, and that was released by Epitaph Records. And it has the Epitaph logo on the back. I have the CD, but I don't have the Epitaph version on vinyl. And what's notable about that, it really was the first time anyone took a measure to increase the sound quality of the original recording. And I don't know what all Epitaph did, but it's noticeably louder. I don't know if he just hit a loudness button and boosted all fields of the parametric EQ, but it is noticeably louder than the original. I don't want to say it's remastered. I wouldn't go that far, but it is different. And I think just in that note, it's probably worth having in your collection if you can find it. They are pretty rare. The Epitaph copies weren't out very long, maybe a year and a half, and they disappeared, and I don't see them at all, really. I don't see them on eBay. Obviously they're on Discogs. I believe they have the insert. I believe they're just like this copy, black and white cover. They have the insert, and they have the Hello Kitty Kitty in the dead wax. And again, it has the Epitaph logo on the back of the vinyl, in the same place that BMG logo is. So let's move on. All right, continuing on with our American represses. Frontier got back into the game with this album. I want to say it was close to or post Rozz passing. And they began repressing this vinyl and offering it for sale on their website. And they added a twist to it. They started doing colored versions of the vinyl. And they did and continue to this day to do limited runs of a few hundred copies in various colors. I would surmise there's probably 20 some colors at this point of this record, all on Frontier. And so a lot of them are a black and white cover, and they have Nothing helpful on the back side to identify these. It has, and I'm just going to verify real quick, FLP 1007, copyright 1982. So if yours isn't in a shrink wrap and has this helpful little sticker, you know you have a repress. You can tell if it's a BMG or an Epitaph. If those logos aren't there, it's one of the Frontier represses. It could be on black, it could be on colored, and it could be any color. I believe the first one was orange, which is what I have. It is in a plain white sleeve. And the notable difference on this is now we have a gold center label with black print on both sides. And again, the vinyl is orange. And it does feel a little heavier. It feels heavier than 120 grams, but that was never in the notations of any of these re-releases, that they were of a heavier weight vinyl. It possibly could be 160, and if I had a scale, I would weigh it for you. And I just want to check the dead wax and see if it's in there. And for sure enough, Hello Kitty 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 is in the dead wax. So the font is the same, the placement is the same, so I'm thinking this, again, pressed from the original masters of this album. And they do have the insert, and again, it's black and white, but this is on glossy paper. This is new. All previous versions were just on plain white paper. Feels like printer paper. This is on glossy paper, which is a nice addition. So, you know, again, if you're a completist, do I think you should have all 20 FX copies of Only Theater of Pain on every color? If you want, if you have the finances to do that, go for it. Me personally, I'm happy with just having one. And I only bought this because I didn't know what was coming afterwards. Which, if I had, I probably wouldn't have picked this up. These are still available in whatever current color they're on through Frontier Records. And I am going to include a link to Frontier Records in my description. Because it is the one place, one official place, where you can buy this record still today. Brand new. Alright, so we're going to move on to another continent. This was released, I'm not sure, 1987, 88, on a German label called Normal Records. And they were releasing all Christian Death material at that time. And for German markets. So, what makes this one unique is there is no insert, but it is a gatefold. And it's quite lovely, honestly. I really wanted to have this just because it is different from all other releases of this album. It's glossy. There is, again, no insert. And it doesn't look like there was ever anything in the front pocket. It looks like it was supposed to remain sealed. So here is the back cover. It's similar, or it's identical to the original, except we have this information at the bottom. And hopefully that's in focus. And it does say licensed from Frontier. So whether or not that's accurate, I don't know. But for sake of argument, I'm not even going to go into it. Let's just say it is. And this is an official copy of Only Theater of Pain. I believe it is. Feels heavy. Again, it feels similar in weight to that orange copy I just showed you. So this might be 160 grams. And the center label is a little disappointing, and all normal releases had these like Bauhausian, just plain labels. And let's just take a quick look and see if we have anything in the dead wax. And the dead wax appears to be clean. There's a manufacturer's mark, and that is it. No Hello Kitty Kitty Kitty. So, that is the German version on normal records. I might be wrong, but I do believe, because Christian Death was released on Jungle Records in the UK, there might be a version of this record on Jungle. I think there is. I do not own it. It's probably something I should add to my collection one day. Since I have so many copies, why not have all of the versions, right? The next one I'm going to show you, I think, is probably very coveted amongst Rozz fans. It is a Japanese pressing of Only Theater of Pain, and I think this came out in '87 as well. And it is quite lovely. It is the original black and gold cover, and it has this obi strip on the side. And these were released by I believe, I want to say it's King Records. This says VAP, and VAP Inc. in Tokyo, Japan, but it has a date of 1984, so maybe this is earlier than I believe. And this was licensed from Future Records and then licensed from Frontier, so it like traded hands twice. But again, this is a very highly sought after version of this album because of it's Japanese, and it has this obi strip, you know, that has some different print here that isn't on any other version of this record. Of all Japanese releases for Christian Death, this is the most common, and I think there's 2 different versions of this. It does have an insert, which I don't think this copy does. My other copy does. It's just like a flyer type thing. It's like purple and white. There's nothing really special about it. This is the interesting piece about this record. It's practically indecipherable picture sleeve. And this is one of the few copies that comes with a picture sleeve. It's gold print on like gray paper, and it's like negative images of everything. It's like they took a negative image of the insert and printed it that way. So it is unique, but it's indecipherable. So and it's a booklet. It's not only a picture sleeve, but it's a booklet. And on the inside of the booklet is the lyrics in Japanese. And do they also have English? No. You just get lyrics in Japanese. So it's a very interesting release. Definitely highly coveted, as I said, by fans who want a special version of this record. The vinyl, you know, it's, let me get it out of here. Nothing, like with all the effort that was put into the artwork and the design of this, no effort on the center label, which is disappointing. So, this is very light. This is definitely a 120 gram vinyl. And let's see if we have anything in the dead wax. We have a manufacturer's number. And that is it. There's nothing else in the dead wax. Also of note on this version of Only Theater of Pain is the misspellings. That happens a lot with Japanese pressings for any artist, but there are definitely some misspellings of song titles. So that is the Japanese version of the record. There is also, I believe, a version on Contempo. And who is Contempo? Contempo was the Italian market for Christian Death. And they, too, released the discography for Christian Death. Unlike many other labels. So I think they probably have a version of Only Theater of Pain, and I do not own that. In addition to the link to Frontier Records, I'm also going to provide a link to Anton Damazzo's Christian Death discography. He breaks down every release of Christian Death, of Rozz recordings of Christian Death, for fans to help navigate and find what's out there. And it's very thorough. It's excellently done, beautifully designed. So I'm also going to provide a link to that. I haven't gone to the site in quite some time. I'm assuming it's still up. So I will also provide a link for that if the site is still up. So what's next? Let's go back to America. And this was, and it's still sealed, so I'm going to apologize for that. I've never opened this. But this is the version I kind of touched on earlier, that had I known this was coming out from Frontier Records, I would have not purchased the other colored vinyls that came before it. I want to say, because this is a silver print, this is not black and white, this is silver and black. And again, we still have the special color vinyl sticker. This was the 25th anniversary of the release of Only Theater of Pain. I hope that's right. That's my assumption because it's silver. The vinyl is silver and it includes a lyric sheet. And I don't honestly know if there's anything else in there. We can assume the vinyl says "Hello Kitty Kitty Kitty" because it's a Frontier Records release. And again, you can see not much effort has been made to catalog this in a way to make it unique. I'm sure there's a legal reason for that. It certainly would help fans if there was some designations. Put some S's or something. I don't know. But again, this is sealed. I'm assuming it has a lyric sheet. I'm assuming the vinyl says "Hello Kitty Kitty Kitty" in the dead wax. And whether it's a plain white sleeve or a picture sleeve, I just don't know. Well, I'm going to guess it's plain white, but I don't know. I've never seen one opened. Maybe we'll do an unboxing of this one day. I don't know. I don't see this copy turn up that often. Honestly, I have not seen this one show up on eBay. Since its original release, you know, they were on eBay quite a bit, and now it's kind of disappeared, and it is out of print. So if anniversaries are important to you, and Rozz is important to you, and Christian Death, and this record is important to you, this might be something you want to try to find. I would probably say you probably have some success on Discogs. Alright, so the last version, US version, I'm going to touch on is this baby, which was our first glimpse at the intended original cover of Only Theater of Pain, designed by Rozz Williams. All covers were, well, all the covers with this artwork were. The black and gold ones, that was Rozz's art. It was just recolored for some reason. So this came out about 5 or 6 years ago. I did pre-order it so that I could get the poster, which maybe you can see behind me. And then there was an exclusive 7-inch that came with it. I ordered for this for me and my friend, Sean. And this was really beautifully done. It's called the Parchment cover. They are still releasing these with the Parchment cover, and I think this has been added to the series of rotating colors. So you can order Only Theater of Pain with the black and white cover and a different colored vinyl, or I believe you can order this one with different colored vinyl. I think they're currently on purple with this one. And here is the back. I don't know if I showed the back. And this is our first, like, finally, some extra information. And the, right here, in the front, under the Frontier logo. And it gets a new number, 31007-1. Oh, success. Like, this is the version you wouldn't need a different number for because it's so obviously different. But it gets a new number. Helpful. I don't understand it. So, again, this version came with that poster that you can kind of see behind me. It came with this 7-inch. Just a plain white label 7-inch. Has the Frontier logo on it. What's on here? It is Cavity First Communion Alternative version. I believe, if I recall right, it is the version of Cavity that appears on Death Wish. And then the Lord's Prayer, which I may be wrong. I haven't listened to this in a while. I don't know if it's the version that appears at the end of Only Theater of Pain, or if they reversed it to play it in the proper direction, because on the record it plays backwards. It's backmasked, or not backmasked, but it's just played backwards. So I think maybe they reversed it for this release. But don't quote me on that. And I don't believe there's anything in the dead wax on the 7-inch. Just catalog number. Yes, there's nothing else. Of note of this record, the sticker that I showed you earlier claims that it's been digitally remastered. And I will tell you that the audio quality on this definitely is cleaner than the original. There has been some complaints about it, however, because there's a feeling that that murkiness, that seediness that kind of exudes from the original copy was on purpose. And this, having cleaned that up a little, it kind of has stripped away. It almost sounds more studio, like a studio recording, than the original recording, which some fans don't appreciate. Others appreciate the fact that, you know, maybe this is how it was originally intended to be heard. We don't really know, right? Who are we going to ask, right? So, Rick is out there. He can comment, on what he feels about this version of Cavity. Or, I'm sorry, Only Theater of Pain. So, the lyric sheet for the first time has been changed as well. So, it is on glossy, thick paper. And we have this new font. And this is Rozz's original. This is how Rozz wrote these songs. These are from a journal that I used to own. And these are his handwritten lyrics reprinted for this release, which is really lovely. It's a nice, nice touch. And it's two-sided. And for that alone, I think the effort that was put into this version of this record definitely exceeds all previous versions that have come out before. It was a beautifully done job, and Lisa Fancher over at Frontier Records deserves a lot of credit for putting this together and really making it something special for fans. The vinyl is heavy. I don't want to say it's 180. It could be 180. But it's definitely at least 160. And it's this beautiful purple like psychedelic almost, you know, swirly, purpley vinyl. And let's just take a quick look. I would be remiss if I didn't. And I kind of remember when I bought this that I was surprised. Yeah, Hello Kitty Kitty is missing. So that tells us, right, that it wasn't just pressed from that original master. Like, this was cleaned up. It was, you know, taken into a studio, and somebody worked on this for days and hours to provide us a version of this record that wasn't just the cut and paste version that we've heard over and over and pressed over and over and over. It's a plain white sleeve. I think I mentioned that. And it came with a Frontier Records sticker. So, where are we at? So, which one should you buy? I think that's up to you. What's important to you? If originality, having the first pressing of something is important to you, it's this one. This is the original European copy. And it's this one, that original black and gold copy. If it's quality, if it's sound quality, I really think the search for the Epitaph version is kind of a muted point at this venture, because we now have this. This sort of takes everything that we've kind of wished would happen with Only Theater of Pain, or didn't wish would happen with Only Theater of Pain, and kind of puts it all in a beautifully well done package that also provides something new to fans wanting something different associated with Rozz Williams that we hadn't seen before. And this release, the Parchment cover, is it. I have one more version I want to touch on. Actually, two. There is a picture disc that is out there. It sells for like $100. Originally it was $25. Now you see them for $100. That is a bootleg. This album has never been pressed on a picture disc. And the quality of it is terrible. I've heard the quality. I wouldn't even waste your money on it. I don't know if it's going to be a collector's item just because it's different. That tends to happen with items that, even though they're not official releases, because they become rare, there's value in it. So I guess from a collector standpoint, you know, pick it up if you have extra money laying around and you have every other copy of Only Theater of Pain. But I really wouldn't waste your money on it. The last one I want to touch on is something that a lot of us fans spent our money on. We pre-ordered this, and it was an anniversary edition of, let me find it, this version. We were all pretty excited about it because, for one, it was going to be pressed on colored vinyl, and it was the first time anyone had made an effort to repress the original European copy of Only Theater of Pain. I do recall that maybe it was going to be either on heavyweight vinyl, or it was going to be remastered. Regardless, we all spent our money on it. I think it was $25 or $30. And it was released by a German label, I believe, or French label called 17 Records. And what happened with this was they wanted to do an anniversary edition of that European pressing, and got the blessings from Lisa Fancher at Frontier Records to do this release. The idea was that they were going to provide X amount of copies of this to Frontier Records so that they could also release it through their website, and like sort of a joint venture with 17 Records to celebrate this anniversary. that never happened. They never sent those copies to Lisa Fancher, and sort of voided and violated their contract with her, but went ahead with the release anyway. So there were delays after delays with this record. When it finally came, we got this, which for all intents and purposes looks very close to the original. Here's some glaring oversights. If you're going to repress something, you know, as an anniversary edition, maybe keep the original wording. You know, I can forgive you for making this brighter and sharper or whatever you did. I don't know what you did. But this is what we got. And here is the 17 Records logo. And here's some additional information. So, some of us got our vinyl, and, you know, we were happy. Some of us got our vinyl, and we were not. And the reason why we weren't happy was because there was no booklet. And 17 Records kind of started getting quiet. They stopped responding to emails. They assured the people that their booklets were going to be mailed separately, which I was dubious of because the shipping on this was already outrageous. Now you're going to ship me a booklet at your expense because it wasn't ready in time for the release, which was late anyway. So we all felt probably a little scammed. I know I did. I don't want to speak for other people. I know I felt pretty shortchanged by the whole process. So we got the plain white jacket. And it does do an accurate representation of the original center sleeves or center holes. And it is on this pretty red vinyl. And, you know, it is what it is. I honestly, I don't ever see these for sale on Discogs or eBay. I definitely don't see them on eBay. I haven't really searched for it on Discogs. I am kind of curious if anybody ever got a booklet, if the booklets were ever made. But, you know, one of two things happened. This 17 Records was either overreaching and thinking that they could pull this off. I mean, they were a relatively unknown label. I think they might still be around. I'm not sure. They thought they could pull this off and provide something to fans that was going to be special, and realized money wasn't going to be as forthcoming as possible. Maybe they were relying on the pre-orders to make it happen. You know, this is pre-Kickstarter, pledge music, all that stuff. You know, basically you sent money to a label and hope for the best back then. Or they really intended to, you know, default out on their obligations to Frontier Records and do what they wanted to do. And maybe they wanted to have a booklet, maybe they didn't, but whatever they did not give us a faithful representation of the original release. And for that reason, this is probably one of the most disappointing copies of Only Theater of Pain in my collection. Just because I know the backstory, and because it's just not what we wanted. It's not what we expected we were going to get. So, another long video, but that is everything. And again, you know, be careful, be wary if you're going to purchase an original vinyl of Only Theater of Pain. Do your homework. Make sure you're buying from a trusted seller. Make sure you have the pictures. And I hope this video really helps some fans out there in buying their first copy of Only Theater of Pain or their next copy of Only Theater of Pain. With that said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you again, and take care.